It's 94.5 KATS, Yakima's rock station. I have one of the longtime faves here in the KATS studio, a friend to the Timmy show. We have Mr. Craig Gass. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Did you say a friend to the Titty show?
Yes.
What? The Titty show? What has happened in Yakima since I was last here?
At least mine are real. That's all I can say about that. So I was telling you in the hall, you do an amazing impression of Gene Simmons, whereas I do a decent impression of Richard Simmons, at least the dancing with the short shorts and the afro. But still, you're going to be rocking the seasons this Friday night.
I can't wait. It's been 7 years almost since the last time I was in Yakima, so I'm happy to be. So much has happened, and I'm putting out 2 comedy specials this year. Okay. The first one I've already filmed, and that is an entire comedy special just making fun of Kiss for an hour. That's the whole thing. It's all jokes about the band Kiss for an hour. That's already in the can. That's being edited right now. And then the other comedy special I'm putting out is what I'm doing at Seasons on Friday. I'm rehearsing it at Seasons. I'm filming it in a few weeks. And there's so many things that, first of all, when you talk about the Gene Simmons and the Kiss thing, I'm mostly known as a voice guy. I do impressions, and I do celebrity voices on Family Guy, American Dad, and the Howard Stern Show. I'm actually back on the Howard Stern Show now for the first time in 20 years, and always been able to do any voice that I hear because of how I grew up. And I know you know the story, but for anyone who doesn't know, my entire family is deaf, which sounds like a joke, but it's not. My mom, my dad, and my sister are all completely deaf. Growing up in a deaf family, I couldn't learn how to talk from my family. I learned how to talk by watching TV and copying all the voices I heard on TV, and never got an accent from the Bronx.
Wow.
And everybody in the Bronx is very thick. Everybody in the Bronx sounds like Tracy Morgan.
Everybody in the Bronx talk like this, whether you black or white, male or female. That's crazy. Hey, this is the voice of your next door neighbor, and I'm a Vietnamese girl. That's crazy.
Everybody sounds like that. By the way, Tracy Morgan, greatest story of all time. I was getting ready to go on stage. I'm opening for Dave Chappelle at Caroline's, and this agent comes up to me and says that Tracy Morgan just had a crazy party. And in his description, in his words, the party turned into a sex party, according to him. Everyone got naked. It was nuts, whatever, literally nuts. And I go, what? Who did that? And he goes, Tracy Morgan had a party. And then I'm getting ready to go on stage. Tracy Morgan walks around the corner. I haven't seen Tracy in probably a year at this point. And I go, Tracy, I heard your party was messed up, man. Tracy Morgan rolled over and just eyeballed me before he finally said,
it was crazy. It was crazy, Craig. You want to know what's crazy about it? When you get off on my floor, you don't even hear nothing. You don't hear nothing at all. Then you start walking towards my apartment, but you still don't hear nothing. Then you knock on my door, but you still don't hear nothing, right? And when I open the door, there's buttholes and toes everywhere. And I went, what the hell? And just because I've never heard that phrase before,
Buttholes and toes,
I had to clarify whether or not I had heard buttholes and toes. I remember, I paused and I said, did you just say buttholes and toes? And Tracy Morgan said, yeah. Before he added, some of them toes were in the buttholes. And he walked out of the room, and I was like, wow, that's the most magical thing I've ever heard in my life. My God.
After that car wreck, you got to live a little.
Yeah, exactly. This was before the car wreck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who knows how bad a shape those buttholes are in now after the car wreck. But yeah, Tracy Morgan. So the whole show at Seasons, it's impressions. It's impressions of celebrities and stories about the celebrities that I do impressions of. I've had run-ins with all of them over the years about my impressions of them. And that is what we're doing at Seasons. By the way, all the tickets for the shows, it's one show this Friday night, is theseasonsyakima.com, or you can go to getgas with 2 S's.com. Getgas with 2 S's.com. And, dude, so many things have happened since the last time I saw you. I've performed with Kiss. Kiss fans hate me now.
I heard you had quite the adventure on the Kiss cruise.
I did a thing on the Kiss cruise that pissed off. Dude, the Kiss fans hate me more than Gene Simmons ever did. I did something on the Kiss cruise that was infuriating to Kiss fans. I get on the Kiss cruise, and I meet the cruise director. Mm-hmm. She's really upbeat. She's really peppy. She's the Julie McCoy of the Kiss cruise. You Google that. And she's super excited. And then at some moment, she goes, wait a minute, are you Craig? You're the comedian from Family Guy? And do you want to do a funny announcement on the ship tomorrow morning? And I went, oh, God, yes. Let me ask you a question. If I do an announcement on the ship, who's going to hear it? And she goes, well, if you want, we can flip a switch and it'll get piped into every cabin. And I said, flip that switch. I know exactly what I want everyone to wake up to tomorrow morning. The next morning, 3,000 of the biggest Kiss fans in the world at sea woke up to bing bong.
Hey, everybody, this is Paul Stanley. And this is Gene Simmons from KISS. And we have a very important announcement. Do not panic, but we have a very important announcement about the KISS cruise.
At that moment, my friends on the ship said that all the KISS fans had stopped in their tracks, were looking up at the speakers and smiling until the next words that came out of my mouth.
We've just hit an iceberg.
Which... Keep in mind, when I said we just hit an iceberg, we're in the middle of the frickin' Bahamas. There's no reason for you as an intelligent person to go, this ship's going down. Ship's going down. We're in the Bahamas.
But do not panic because KISS is going to take care of everybody. We actually have 3 packages to get you off the ship. First, we have the platinum package. It's $5,000. We'll put you in a life raft, and you have your own private photo taken with KISS. Then we have the diamond package. Isn't that right, Paul?
That's right, the diamond package.
For $10,000, where we throw you in the ocean with Tommy and Eric, and then KISS floats by on a raft. We do a private acoustic show.
Everything I said was stupid, but apparently several KISS fans ran to the employees and said, so KISS is just going to charge us to get off the boat now? Is that what's happening? They believed it. Yeah. The best stories of us have come from the world of KISS. Other musicians and people that work with... Dude, there's a music video that I just filmed, my first music video. It's the #1 added rock song to rock radio in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Sebastian Bach has a new song called What Do I Got to Lose?
Yeah.
And the video opens with me doing an impression of Sebastian. Sebastian Bach told me a Gene Simmons story where he said, dude, that guy invited me to his house, and that guy has a frickin' KISS museum in his house, which is true. There's a room in Gene Simmons' house that has every piece of KISS merchandise that's ever existed, including the casket. It's all in there. And Sebastian said when he walked in, he goes, dude, there was a bag on a table that had 100 KISS cell phone covers on it. And I said, dude, what the hell is that? And Gene goes, that's our new promotion for Kissmas. That's our new KISS cell phone covers. Can I have one of those?
I wish I could, but if you go to kissonline.com,
and he wouldn't give him one piece of plastic. The best stories about KISS that I've heard through the years has been from people associated with the band who worked with them. A friend of mine who works for another band, Red Hot Chili Peppers, calls me up and goes, hey, dude, I'm in a studio right now with the Chili Peppers. We're recording a new album. The owner of the studio is a huge fan of yours. Do you mind if I put him on the phone? And I said, of course. And this guy goes, dude, I am a huge fan of yours. I love all of your impressions, especially your Gene Simmons, because Gene Simmons was the first guy to ever screw me over in this business. And I want to tell you the story. I think you might appreciate this, and maybe you can use this on stage. And the story is, apparently, Gene Simmons is producing an album for a new artist. And he's going to go record it at this facility. At the last minute, Gene wants to switch into the largest facility for the same amount of money. And when he shows up at the studio, he says, did you get my message? I want to use Studio A. And the guy who owns the studio said, yeah, I actually called you back. I don't know if you got my message or not, but someone is using the studio right now, and I asked them if they would switch, and they said no.
And Gene goes, do they know that Gene Simmons from KISS is here? And he goes, you know what? If you want to ask him, you can ask him. I'm not going to ask him again. And he goes, all right, we're Studio A. And he goes, it's all the way down the hall. It's the last door on the right. Gene Simmons goes walking down the hallway, opens up the door to Studio A, looks inside, and sees the rap group, the Wu-Tang Clan, recording an album. Closes the door, walks back up to the front, and goes, right, we're Studio B. He never even opened his mouth to the Wu-Tang Clan. I love that story. But my favorite story is a friend of mine who works on the road crew for KISS. Mm-hmm. This guy's been working for KISS on and off for 20 years. And he goes, dude, 15 years ago, before Gene Simmons got married, Gene Simmons, while we were on tour, and everyone noticed this, Gene hooked up with Miss America while we were on tour. Mm. It was the reigning Miss America of that year. Gene Simmons hooked up with her. The next night, Gene hooked up with a whore, a girl that was such a mess that even the guys in the road crew were like, God, did you see that? What the hell was that? The next night, we have a day off in a town that is so small that the band and the crew are all staying in the same hotel. And he's telling me from his point of view, he goes, I was in the bar of the hotel when I happened to turn around and I saw Gene Simmons walking through the lobby of the hotel, and he's dragging this beast of a woman with him through the lobby, gets in the elevator, pushes the button to his floor, and that's when he notices me. He folds his arms and goes, oh yeah, bing, and then the doors close. And he said the next day he saw him at sound check and he goes, Gene, hey buddy, did you hook up with that girl last night? And he goes, of course. And he goes, Gene, didn't you hook up with Miss America the other night? And he goes, Steve, listen to me, okay? I'm going to give you some valuable advice. You can't have filet mignon every night. Sometimes you got to go to McDonald's. It's the worst love advice I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, it is. But yeah, he's out of his mind. By the way, I make the joke all the time, and it's based on a true story. The first time Gene Simmons ever confronted me live on the Howard Stern show, I was headlining Caroline's for the first time that night, and which is a big deal for comedians. Like, you know, it's Times Square. It's like it's a big, you know, I made it kind of show. And someone told Gene, you know, Craig's got a big night tonight. You know, this is, and he said, really? Give me his phone number. And they gave him my friggin' phone number. And I didn't know. I just saw a number I didn't recognize, and I let it go to voicemail. Mm-hmm. I still have this voicemail.
Beautiful.
It went, boop. Hi, Craig. This is Gene Simmons from KISS. He actually said from KISS on my answering machine. Like, I'm going to confuse you with Gene Simmons from Pet Boys. I know who the hell this is. Like, and I want you to know, I know you're headlining Caroline's. I want you to know the KISS Army is behind you, and I support you. That's why I'm going to be in the front row. And when I got on stage that night, Gene Simmons was in the front row with a bunch of women. And when I started doing material about KISS, Gene Simmons just turned around, looked at the audience, and went, he's talking about me. He loved it, absolutely loved it. Invited me to a strip club that night, went to the strip club with a couple of my friends, and we get escorted into a back room, like a private lounge, where there's a couple of couches. And this is the setting. Gene Simmons on one couch, literally covered in strippers, just covered in strippers. Me and my two friends on the other couch going, yay! Like, we're cheering him on. We're just
go Gene, go
Gene, go! You're manlier than us. Yeah. And at some point through the strippers, Gene sees me and goes, hold on, hang on, ladies. Can I ask you a question? Do you like stand-up comedy? You do. Great. Because this gentleman right here is the gentleman who does the impression of me. Isn't that something? And all the strippers looked at me and I went, what's going on? And they all went, nothing. And I went, oh, no, you're right. No, you're right. I'm wrong. You're right. Nope, I got you. Yep, no problem. I'll just sit over here and just look like a dummy.
How many people can say they've been cock-blocked or at least, cock-blocked by Gene Simmons?
Yeah, it was amazing. It's amazing. Dude, this show
at Seasons is going to be amazing. It's a ton of stories. It's impressions, stories about people who we do impressions of, and my love of the Seahawks. I cannot wait for people to hear this. All the tickets are at theseasonsyakima.com or at my website, which is getgas.com. Getgas with 2 S's.com. And I'm excited to be back in Yakima. I'm excited for everybody to hear this material on Friday night. It's date night, and it's freezing in this town. Yeah. Let's all get out of the house and go have a good time.
We got one of our good friends, Jason Stewart's going to be opening.
Yes, Jason Stewart's doing the show with me. You're doing the show with me.
I'm going to be emceeing. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Before you take off, I'm a huge fan of Family Guy.
Yeah.
And the story of how you got involved with that TV show. I was one of the people writing online petitions like they could even do a damn thing to get that show back on the air when it was canceled.
Which is one of the craziest things that's ever happened in pop culture history.
And so my love for Family Guy is so huge. How did you get involved with that?
The casting director, Linda LaMontagne, discovered me. She's now over at Netflix, but she got me the job because, and I never auditioned for it. She found me on the internet. People on YouTube used to put clips of me together. Now I realize how beneficial it is to put my own clips up. Mm-hmm. But back in the day, people would just put clips of me doing impressions and string them all together. And Linda was looking for an Al Pacino impression for one moment of one episode of Family Guy. So she finds me doing the impression, and she's like, wow, this is the guy. And then she started noticing that people string all these impressions together of me. And she called Seth MacFarlane, who was in his car, and said, Seth, you got to hear this guy I just discovered on the internet. And she played him clips of me over the phone. Mm-hmm. And over the phone, Seth MacFarlane said, well, give him a job. Hire him.
Nice.
See if he wants to work for us. And so she called me up and said, hey, I don't know if you're interested, if you're available. I was sitting in a Long John Silver's when she called me. I was like, I am available. I am totally available. And a few weeks later, I'm in a recording studio with Seth MacFarlane, and I'm already way too creepy because I love Family Guy, so I'm getting way too excited about it. And Seth MacFarlane keeps trying to get me to calm down, and he's like, come on, let's just go in the studio. Just take a minute. And Seth MacFarlane's running the board. The whole recording session lasted like 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Seth MacFarlane kept doing one line as Peter Griffin, where he kept saying, this is crazier than when Al Pacino was a slumlord laundromat tenant. And then they cut to me as Al Pacino, surrounded by a bunch of broken down washers and dryers, going,
you're out of order. And you're out of order. And you're all out of order.
And we do that 3 times.
I remember that episode.
And Seth MacFarlane goes, all right, man, I think we're good. But I'm so nervous because I think we're going to be friends now that I stand up and I go, hey, so you want to hang out? Or and he goes, hang out? What do you mean hang out? And I go, I don't know, you want to grab a coffee or something? And he goes, I got to work. And I said, all right, you want me to leave? And he goes, yeah, get the hell out of here. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Grabbed my paperwork, walked out, and I didn't hear from them again for like 6 months. And then Linda finally starts calling me again and said, hey, Craig, can you do this voice or this voice? And everything she asked me to do, I'm like, I can do whatever you want. And every time I've gone back to record for Family Guy or American Dad, or even back when the Cleveland show was on the air, never saw Seth MacFarlane again. It was always this guy, Mike Henry, who does the voice of Cleveland and the creepy old guy. And every time I'd see Mike, I'd go, hey, Mike, is Seth around? And every time I'd see him, he'd go, don't worry about Seth. We're going to get you out of here real quick. Ooh, that says everything. We're going to get you out of here real quick. Yeah, that was a bummer. A real bummer. But
it makes memories.
It does. Yeah, when you come out to the show at Seasons, you'll hear all this in a very uncensored way. You'll hear a lot of dirty jokes at the Seasons on Friday night, but I'm a good person. I love my mom, so come out to the Seasons. And we've already sold half the tickets, so who knows? By the time we get to Friday night, the show might be sold out. But theseasonsyakima.com, or you can go to my website, getgas.com. Getgas with 2 S's.com.
All right, and for more information, in case you can't remember that, katsfm.com or simply on the KATS app. Craig, thank you so much. I'd say break a leg, but I've done that, and that hurts.
I have, too, doing stand-up. I was humping a stool, and I broke my leg like 30 years ago doing stand-up. I used to do this thing where I used to hump the stool, and I hyperextended my knee, and I got a sports injury. I had to be carried out of the comedy club on a stretcher. So don't have sex with stools.
All right. Words of wisdom from
Yes.
Craig Gass. The season's performance all this Friday night. Craig, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.